Hey everyone, it's Zach. What's going on here? And today we are going to talk about the team I used in the last global challenge. I do think it is a decent and kind of fun best of one team. So if you want to check it out, the rental code is right up there. And if you guys enjoy it, let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. In this video, I'm basically just going to talk about my results and how I think I did and a little bit about each mon. So let's jump into it now, and I hope you enjoy. So first off, quick view of the team. One, it is not the Knoxville team for whatever reason. When you put it in a rental spot, it takes whatever name that is in your battle box. So this is in my battle box, it's slot 2, but my Knoxville team is slot 5. So because this is in rental team 5 slot, it takes the Knoxville name. I don't know. But we got Talonflame, Tyranitar, Iron Tread, Tsareena, Chi-Yu, and Fluttermane. So Talonflame here with the safety goggles because there is the option to run the sand with Tyranitar and Iron Treads. Tyranitar is Assault Vest. It takes advantage of it the best, and I thought it would serve the Assault Vest better than Tsareena. Iron Treads is Booster Energy, and we'll talk a little bit about that when we get more into the Pokemon. Tsareena is Citrus Berry because the Assault Vest was taken, so this is basically my Assault Vest Tsareena with Protect instead of Play Rough, and then the Citrus Berry for some recovery. Chi-Yu is the funny mon of the team. It is Water Absorb. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get into each individual Pokemon. And then Fluttermane is the Choice Specs variant. So let's talk about each mon in particular. All right, so Talonflame. Talonflame is just, standard Talonflame. Gill Wings. It does have a little decent amount of investment in attack and HP, max speed, obviously, and it is adamant instead of the timid. So most Talonflames I've noticed is going adamant. So if you do get a chance to attack with Talonflame, you want to be able to hit hard, and adamant does that. Not to mention, you want the speed to get Tailwind up, but with the Gale Wings ability, if you're setting it up turn 1, you don't have much to worry about. If you are worried about Fake Out, for example, if you didn't bring the Tsareena, you can just go Terra Ghost here. I don't really recommend it. It's there just as a worst case scenario. And after that, you can start burning with Will-O-Wisp, Taunt to shut down Trick Room in case there is a Trick Room on. We've seen more Trick Room Fluttermanes, so that's something you want to watch out for. If they are leading the Fluttermane and they know that it's going to be outsped, just be aware of like a Focus Sash, like Trick Room set. And then Brave Bird for damage. Brave Bird does a decent amount of damage into almost about anything. So Talonflame is the glue of the team, but it's not. It's like its moves other than Tailwind and Will-O-Wisp are just, they're just the normal moves. Like the whole set is just very normal for Talonflame. We went with the safety goggles over Focus Sash or Covert Cloak, so we can sit in the sand, which other Talonflames might not be able to do. It also helps you avoid Sleep Powder, so that is really good, and Rage Powder. So that's really good with making sure that if you are hitting a Brave Bird, you're hitting the right target, and Talonflame is really crucial to try to deal with the Jump Pluff Torkoal lineup that we've been seeing popping up more and more, especially with Joe UX9 winning Portland with it. Next up is Nemo the Chi-Yu. So Chi-Yu is Absorb Ball. For those of you who don't know, haven't seen any of my videos yet, if you haven't, check them out. Absorb Bulb is an item where if a Pokemon is hit with a water type move, it gets a +1 in special attack. So this Chi-Yu is using Terra Water and using the assumption of getting hit with a water move to its advantage. Now, you're not always going to get it. You don't always want it. There are use cases for other mons if that is the case, but for the most part, if you see Palafin, they might think that they can Terra Water, or they can just, bring in Chen Pao and go for the Jet Punch to get the knockout, but with the Terra Water, at best, the Jet Punch is like a 50%. If Chen Pao isn't on the field, if Rain isn't up, it's only taking like a third. It's like a 3-hit KO of just a baby, especially if it's still baby Palafin. So turn 1, you can really take advantage of a Jet Punch trying to catch you off guard, and you can use it to catch them off guard. And this is the main reason why I think the team is a best of 1 team, because you're not going to be able to do this twice. And in open team sheet, they're going to see the Absorb Bulb, and if they know what Absorb Bulb is, they're not going to hit Chi-Yu with a water type attack. So this is more of a ladder team, but I thought it worked really well as a best of 1 team, which is why I took it into the 3rd and final global challenge. So for the moves, we have Protect, we have Terra Blast for the Terra Water, Dark Pulse, and Heat Wave. So Terra Blast is actually really good into ground type mons and Arcanine, for example. I want to say this Terra Blast, even without the Absorb Ball being procced, this Terra Blast usually knocks out most Arcanines with an OHKO. Because of Chi-Yu's ability, Beads of Ruin, lowering its special defense, you get a really good hit, and most of the time they're not going to expect it, because Arcanine can take a lot of hits from a fire type move from Chi-Yu, from a dark type move from Chi-Yu, so the Terra Water can really catch them off guard. It can also do great damage into any Glamora that doesn't terastallize, but that's kind of tricky because in most cases Chi-Yu is a lead, Glamora is a lead. Most of the time you can kind of stop them from going Terra Grass with the Chi-Yu on the field, and then the Terra Water is going to help you take a Power Gem from, or an Earth Power from Glamora a lot better. It still does about 60%, but if it's not Focus Sash or AV, you're usually getting the knockout in return. So I think that's really good there. Dark Pulse is really good for flinch chances, and then Heat Wave is just the spread type move to do general overall damage. This Chi-Yu has most of its max speed timid, and then it has a little bit of investment into defense, a decent amount into HP, and then special attack. So the way I EV'd this is that if Absorb Bulb is procced, you basically have a 252 Chi-Yu, like it turns the stat basically the same after the +1. So if you can get them to activate the Absorb Bulb, you have a 252 Chi-Yu, but you have HP bulk, you have some defense bulk, you have like 4 EVs in special defense. I don't exactly remember, but the pace will be in the description down below if you want to check it out. So that is basically the lead here. So it's very gimmicky at times, but when it works, it works. So most of the time I led Talonflame, Chi-Yu, set Tailwind, and most of the time they would lead the Palafin. Sometimes you don't have to focus on the Palafin because it's not gonna stay in most of the time, but you can always Terra Water, so if it does decide to try to get a Jet Punch off, you are ready to take the hit and deal a lot of damage back. The one Mon I would have to say that Chi-Yu still has problems with no matter what is Iron Hands, because Iron Hands is probably going to go for a Drain Punch or a Close Combat turn 1, and Terra Water, you're going to survive that with the Terra Water, but then the next turn you're probably not going to knock it out unless you have your Flutter Mane next to you, and the electric type moves from Iron Hands can do a lot of damage into a Water Terra Chi-Yu. The reason why I think water is so safe and water is so good right now is because grass types are few and far, like good grass types are few and far in between besides Amoonguss, and then electric types besides Iron Hands are pretty few and far, which is why you've seen Golden Go and Flutter Mane attack on Thunderbolt onto their Choice Spec sets, because there's not a lot of good Terra Electric. There's not a lot of good electric mons. There's not a lot of mons that want to Terra Electric, and there's not a lot of good grass mons. There are a decent amount of mons that want to Terra Grass, but not a lot of grass mons. Most of the time, grass is a defensive typing, so most of the mons that do Terra Grass, besides Glamora, usually don't have a grass type move to take advantage of that. It's more of a defensive Terra, and I will say that Rotom is a problem. Rotom Wash is a problem, just like Iron Hands, but Rotom Wash wasn't as common as Iron Hands, but it's still been popping up, so that is something you want to keep in mind. Next up is the Tsareena Showstopper. The reason why it's Showstopper is because Queenly Majesty. So sometimes we want to take the Jet Punch with Chi-Yu to get the Absorb Bulb, but a lot of times we don't. And that's what Tsareena is here for. Tsareena is pretty bulked out. Its defenses are pretty good to begin with. It has just a little bit of speed and not as much special defense as it was with the Assault Vest, but it still has the HP. It still has a decent amount of bulk to deal with a lot of opponents. Now, Tsareena actually has some really good use cases against some of the Ruin Pokemon. So if you want to Terra Fire, Low Kick is going to always bring Chien-Pao down to Sash, and if it's not Sash, it's probably going to knock it out. Trop Kick is really good against Ting Lu. Not only are you hitting it with a super effective type, but you are also lowering its attack, which for the Rock Slide, Stomping Tantrum, Earthquake, those Choice Banded Ting Lus that have been popping up, being able to drop its attack one stage with a Trop Kick is really good. Not to mention, unless it's Terra Poison with Terra Blast, Ting Lu really doesn't have anything for Tsareena, so you can set up an endgame where if it's Ting Lu versus Tsareena, unless they land a Fissure, which they have, Tsareena does really well. Low Kick is good for the heavier mons. It's good for Terra normal Dragonite, which is not as common anymore. And U-Turn. U-Turn is a good pivot move. It's really hard to pivot with this team, so to have a U-Turn mon where I can do a slower U-Turn, because Tsareena is fast, but it's not that fast, to get a U-Turn in and to be able to reposition that way without completely wasting the turn on that slot is pretty good. Not to mention U-Turn against Wo-Chan, even with the attack lowering one, even with Tsarena's attack lowered by Wo-Chan, without Terra, U-Turn still does like 60% damage, which is really good. If you can right off the bat chunk a Wo-Chan for 60% damage, you're in a good position. And not to mention, like, you preserve it. So the Protect is very necessary, especially if you are terrestrializing the Chi-Yu or another mon on the team, because Tsarena's Terror type is defensive. The Fire type helps you out against Chien-Pao with Ice Spinner or Icicle Crash or something like that. And then it also helps with Dragonite. Now, Dragonite, especially with Chien-Pao on this field, still packs a punch, so you do have to be protective of this. But as I said before, you're not seeing as much Terra normal Dragonites, you're seeing more of Terra Flying. Terra Flying is a big problem for Tsareena, so you want to keep that in mind when you do see the Dragonite in the field. You may think, oh, I'm good because I shut down Extreme Speed. You still have to watch out for the Terra Flying Terra Blast from Dragonite, which I think in every single case I've seen, it OHKOs the Tsareena, especially with Trop Kick, not dropping the attack on Inner Focus Dragonites. So Dragonite can still be a problem, and Dragonite is one way to pick apart the Tsareena defense. You have two-stop priority. Next up is my second heavy hitter, and this is the Iron Treads. Now, when the games first came out, I did think Iron Treads was a little cooler, but then I started using Great Tusk, and I fell in love with Great Tusk so much that I took it to Knoxville, but I wanted to give Iron Treads the try it deserved. So as I was working on this, around the same time, Canto Clark and Winter Knight came up with a video where they used Iron Treads, and they had the defensive Terra of Water, which I was going Terra Ground before, and so I went Terra Water because to keep Iron Treads on the field longer means that you're getting more damage off, and you really need to take advantage of Iron Treads when it's on the field. So I think the Terra Water, the defensive Terra, is really beneficial. You do lose a bit from not having the Terra Ground with Earthquake, but there's a lot of situations where you can't click Earthquake as much as you like. There's only really two mons on this team that are immune to the earthquake. So you either have to protect with if it's Tsareena or Chiyu, you want to protect, and if it's Tyranitar, you have to Terra, but then you can't defensive Terra like Iron Treads. So it's kind of tricky finding the right mon to Terra in some of these matches, but most of the time it's either going to be Iron Treads or Chiyu. Now, if you are leading the Iron Treads Tyranitar, Tyranitar is a good Terra flying here, but we'll talk about that in a bit. So the Iron Treads is booster energy, and it is set up to always proc the speed, and in that way you are always going to outspeed a lot of mons. I believe it outspeeds Sash Fluttermane, or not Sash, Choice Scarf. Let's see. It goes to 282, so even if Regieleki comes back, the booster energy, it will outspeed Regieleki. It outspeeds Bundle without the booster energy. It outspeeds Fluttermane without the booster energy. It can outspeed a lot of mons here, even some mons that are Choice Scarf to outspeed a little. Now, can I invest a little less in speed? Probably, but then I won't get the Terra speed boost. So this EV set is the best to get the most out of it while getting the Terra speed. We have the adamant nature, so we don't have to invest as much into attack, and that way we can put a little more into special defense, which it needs a decent amount of, and HP. Now, when I bring up its special defense is not the greatest thing. That's kind of the issue with both Iron Treads and Great Tusk, is that its special defense is really lacking. So there are a lot of situations where you actually don't want to have Iron Treads and Chiyu on the field at the same time, unless you know you're outspeeding, unless you know you're picking off knockouts. If something hangs on and hits Iron Treads, especially on the special defensive side, you're in trouble. So most of the time, if you're in a situation where it's Chiyu and Iron Treads, you want to switch one of them out, and it all depends on whose boost is active. If you haven't procced the Absorb Bulb yet, you can kind of switch out Chiyu. But if you still have the booster energy, you kind of want to keep Iron Treads in. So just factor that into picking which mon you're tearing and which mon you have on the field at the time. For me, I would have to say that I like Iron Treads as a late game sweeper. So the way that I kind of use Iron Treads is that I have, either my Talonflame, my Chiyu, and then either Tsareena, Tyranitar, or Fluttermane. And then I have my Iron Treads in the back. And so from there, I will pick my Terra based on what I need. If it's Tyranitar, I'll probably wait until Tyranitar and Iron Treads are on the field to Terrasilize. That way I can make the best choice on which mon is going to deal the most damage. But most of the time it's going to be Tyranitar because of the Earthquake and the Terra Flying. Tyranitar's Assault Vest, so it does have Protect. So you need to basically go Terra Flying if you want to keep it next to Iron Treads. So with the booster energy, you're going to outspeed most Fluttermanes, and with the Iron Head, Stab Iron Head, you're going to hit it for super effective, which you can get either a knockout or about like 95% on bulkier Fluttermanes, especially if there's no Intimidate. So, which is why I like Iron Treads as a last mon, so you can get rid of the Arcanine, you can get rid of the Gyarados, you can get rid of all these mons before Iron Treads comes onto the field, and that way you don't have to deal with Intimidate dropping. But speaking of Gyarados, the reason why I liked the moveset and the Terra from Winter Knight and Kanto Clark is because it came with Wild Charge. So before I had Ice Spinner, and I still think Ice Spinner is a really good move, especially if you're dealing with Indeedee. But with Wild Charge there, you can check one of the biggest problems for Iron Treads, and that's Gyarados. Gyarados does a great amount of damage with Waterfall, even with Iron Treads' defense. So you are immune to Thunder Wave, but you can still get hit with Waterfalls really hard. So before the wild charge, I didn't have a way to take out Gyarados very quickly, and then the waterfall damage stacks. Even though I'm hitting first with the booster energy, we're not getting the knockout on Gyarados, and the waterfall damage is stacking. So with the wild charge here, you're able to do super effective damage into Gyarados, which Gyarados thinks it's a really safe switch in. And that's kind of like where I was going with the third moves with Chi-Yu and Iron Treads. I really like those third moves because it covers a lot of the mons that want to switch in, and a lot of mons that want to deal with Chi-Yu, that want to deal with Iron Treads. So that's definitely something that I really liked. But I have to give credit to Winter Knight and Kanto Clark, because I saw it on their team and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about a wild charge, and that's what I went for. Next up is Tyranitar. Tyranitar is just max health, adamant, decent attack, and special defense. And I think there's like maybe like 4 in speed and like 12 in and like a decent amount in defense. But we got Crunch to hit the Flutter Mains hard, good solid stab damage. You got Rock Slide. If you can get the Tailwind up, you can get some Rock Slide flinches going off. Or if you're going against a slower team, you can get some Rock Slide flinches going off. Terra Blast to take advantage of the Terra Flying to help deal with Amoonguss and Wo-Chan. And then Low Kick does great damage into Ting Lu. It does great damage into Chen Pao. It does pretty good damage to a lot of mons. So Low Kick is a good move. And if you're going up against another Tyranitar, if you Terra Flying and they don't, Low Kick is going to win you that 1v1. So there's not much to talk about with Tyranitar. Tyranitar is just a solid mon overall. It has the Sand Stream to bring up the sand to enable the Iron Treads to get more of a special defense boost, which it very much needed. The Terra Flying is so it can sit next to the Iron Treads, and Iron Treads can still click Earthquake safely, and you don't have to worry about damaging your Tyranitar. And that's about it. It can also sit next to Talonflame, because Talonflame has the safety goggles. So if you want to go Tailwind and then start clicking Rock Slide, that's always an option as well. But Tyranitar didn't come as much as I thought it would. It's definitely one of those mons where if we need more of a physical team, or if we need a bulkier mon in the end game, Tyranitar is your end game mon. So a lot of times, like I said, I'd lead Iron Treads in the back as a cleanup mon, and usually Tyranitar was there to support and help for that cleanup. So let's go on to the last one. The last one is Flutter Mane. Now, Flutter Mane is the choice specs. It is, I think it's a shiny one. Is it a shiny one? It is a shiny one. It is a shiny Flutter Mane with choice specs. You know, the Hear Me Out, which is why the nickname is there. Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, and Power Gem. So we have decent amount of HP, we have max defense, and then we have modest Flutter Mane with a little bit of special attack investment. So weirdly enough, this Flutter Mane, it's 3 on here, but on level 50 VGC, it is 1 point slower than the Chi-Yu. So Flutter Mane is always going to go after the Chi-Yu. So Flutter Manes have been getting bulkier, but most of them aren't that slow. So that's something that you can always factor in. And that's something you do have to factor in if you're going against a team that's overall faster. If the team's overall faster, Flutter Mane is actually at a disadvantage here because it doesn't have a lot of speed, but it makes up for that in consistent damage, whether it's through Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, or I don't know which one I clicked more, Thunderbolt or Power Gem. I want to say Thunderbolt, but Power Gem is there to help deal with Arcanine. Thunderbolt is there to help deal with Gyarados and do really good damage into a Dondozo if they didn't Terra yet. Dazzling Gleam is just your overall spread damage, and then Shadow Ball is for basically everything else and Flutter Mane mirror matches. Now, like I said, this Flutter Mane is slower, so you do have to factor that in if you are going against other Flutter mains, especially if you see that booster energy procced, just know that unless you set up Tailwind, you're going to be slower. You're definitely going to be slower. And I do think if you set up Tailwind and with Talonflame and they don't set up Tailwind, I do think you outspeed the booster energy. I would have to double check that. But Fluttermane is just the overall, bulkier mon with the bulky max defense. It can take at least 2 jet punches. It can take 1 sucker punch. It can take 2 sucker punches if you go Terra Fairy. So a lot of priority isn't an issue here. It is also immune to extreme speed, being a ghost type. So this is one of those things where if you want to lead the Talonflame and you're going up against a Chien-Pao and you want to just do good damage right off the bat, you want to go Fluttermane. You can go Dazzling Gleam for spread. It's usually going to bring Chien-Pao down, but you also have the Power Gem option there. Power Gem is super effective into the ice typing of Chien-Pao, and then Terra Fire has become pretty common. So if it goes Terra Fire, the Power Gem is also going to hit it pretty hard. So I do think that is decent here. This is my first time using a choiced item Fluttermane, and I wasn't disappointed in it. But the one thing I will say about this team is that it is very challenging to pivot. So besides Tyranitar and Tsareena, not a lot of these mons have bulk, but the bulk is kind of covering their weakness and not actually adding like extra bulk to it. So there's a lot of times where you're going to lead Talonflame, and whatever you're leading next to Talonflame, your job is to just get as much damage as you can to close it out for the 2 mons in the back. Talonflame is kind of the same way here. Talonflame's main goal is to get up Tailwind. A lot of people will knock it out after that, after it sets up the Tailwind, whether it's a Thunderbolt from Talonflame or a Wave Crash or Jet Punch from Palafin. It doesn't stay around long. If it does stay around longer, that's really good, because you can start clicking Brave Bird to do good chunks and good damage, and do a lot into Amoonguss. You can Will-O-Wisp to cripple physical attackers. You can Taunt to stop setup. Having Talonflame on the field, the longer you can keep Talonflame on the field, the better. That being said, most of the time, it's going down turn 1 or turn 2. So just be very precise in what you do after you set Tailwind, because you're probably not doing much after that. Chi-Yu here. Chi-Yu is usually the other lead mon a lot of the times that I've played, and if you want to check out the battles, they've already been posted on my channel. I have the live stream still up if you want to see all the wins and the losses. The videos that I cut down are only the wins. Chi-Yu was usually my lead. It was usually Talonflame, Chi-Yu. Every now and then, you'd go Iron Treads or Fluttermane. And then in the back, you would have your second heavy hitter. So if you went Talonflame, lead, Chi-Yu, you would pick whether you wanted Fluttermane or Iron Treads, and then you would pick whether you wanted Tsareena or Tyranitar. Most of the time, it's going to be Tsareena, because if you can stop priority with this against this team has a chance to do really big damage with Chi-Yu's Beads of Ruins, lowering the special defense and getting big hits out, especially if you can catch them on the defensive Terra. And then big damage through Iron Treads with the booster energy, especially if Talonflame's still on the field, so you can just keep clicking Earthquake to your heart's content, and then Talonflame is pretty safe from it unless you go Terra Ghost, but you wouldn't do that next to the Iron Treads. And then Tyranitar and Tsareena are kind of your bulky closers. More Tyranitar than Tsareena, but I ended up using Tsareena more because of its ability is just so necessary. Not to mention, Tsareena and Tyranitar next to each other in the back is like, it just destroys Ting-Lu. Getting 2 low kicks on a Ting-Lu, great. But that's the team. Most of it is shiny. I think the only one that is not shiny is the Chi-Yu. Because when I've been building these teams, I've wanted to take the time and to build it and make it look cool. So if you guys want to check that out, I will show the rental code one more time. So once again, one more time, your leads are usually going to be Talonflame with either Iron Treads, Chi-Yu, or Fluttermane, depending on what you think they're going to lead and what you think is going to hit it the best. I usually went Chi-Yu just so I could beat the Terra Water, because water type moves through Palafin were super common. And not to mention, if the Palafin does switch out, you can always just capitalize on that damage, because they think it's a pretty safe switch into something like an Arcanine. Or they'll have Arcanine next to the Palafin or Amoonguss, so you can always just click Taunt. One thing that I really liked against Ting-Lu Palafin leads is going Tsareena, Talonflame, or Tsareena and Chi-Yu. That way you can immediately start doing damage. If they want to switch into the Arcanine, you can catch them on the Terra Water. And it kind of forces the Palafin to switch out, so you can capitalize off of that with either a U-turn or a Chop Kick, and then just protect the next turn and use that Protect turn on Tsareena to take out the Arcanine. And then from there, there's not much that Ting-Lu and Palafin can do to Tsareena. So I think it is really good in those situations, especially if you can get rid of the Arcanine or the Fluttermane off the field quickly. With Trick Room, you're going to go with whatever is your best heavy hitters. In a lot of cases, you can go Iron Treads and Tyranitar and go for the Rock Slide Earthquake combination, big damage on the spread damage, or you can go Fluttermane Chi-Yu if they are special defensively weak, and those two have two spread moves that you can take advantage of against a Trick Room setup. Against Annihilate, Mousehold, I kind of went, most of the time I went Chi-Yu Fluttermane, and that kind of baits the Annihilate to go Terra Fire, where our Terra Water will counteract that, and from there you can pick and choose your protects. You can you can get rid of the Mousehold, you can go into Tsareena, you can go into Iron Treads to get good damage with Earthquake. There's a lot of options for the Annihilate. You just have to figure out, you just have to get the Terra right. If it's Terra Water versus Terra Water, you're still in a good position because Dark Pulse still does a lot. And then you also have like the Thunderbolt from Fluttermane and the Wild Charge from Iron Treads to do decent damage. You just have to prevent it from bulking up too much before you start hitting it hard. What other things that I go up against? Glimmora. Against Glimmora, you kind of want to go Chi-Yu Fluttermane or Chi-Yu Talonflame with Fluttermane in the back, just to guarantee that you have a way of getting quick damage on the Glimmora without activating the Toxic Spikes. If that's the case, you kind of want Iron Treads on the back, so it's not really affected by the Toxic Spikes. But if it's a Dondozo team, which Glimmora is commonly seen on, you kind of want to go Tsareena Fluttermane in the back and just try to do as much damage, try to get a Will-O-Wisp off on the Dondozo, and then work from there. It's kind of a tough matchup, so it's just tricky how you want to use it. Iron Bundle Abomasnow leads, you kind of want to go Iron Treads because the Earthquake and Iron Head is still doing decent damage. You can always click Wild Charge into the Iron Bundle to hit it hard, especially if you see that booster energy proc. You can always go Talonflame, set the Tailwind, and then either go Thunderbolt on Fluttermane or Wild Charge on Iron Treads, and you can get big damage really quick on the Iron Bundle, especially on the special side with Fluttermane. And then you have Tyranitar in the back to get rid of the snow to kind of prevent Aurora Veil. It is still tough to prevent the Aurora Veil. You can do that with either a taunt on the Talonflame, but then you have to bet the 50-50 on finding out whether it's on Iron Bundle or whether it's on Abomasnow. It will normally be on Fluttermane now, not Fluttermane. It will normally be on Iron Bundle now, so it's kind of hard to taunt it and set up Tailwind at the same time to outspeed it. So you just kind of have to watch out because it will sometimes position itself with a Mon with U-turn and get Abomasnow in slowly and then bring up. So a T-Tar in the back is pretty good for that and can deal with it. You do usually have to Terra Flying the Tyranitar if you want to do well against Abomasnow, because Energy Ball still does a decent amount. You just have to try to take out the bundle first. It's a really hard balancing act. Like I said, this team is kind of like a do as much damage as you can and hope that your last two clean up. And it's a best of one team. So I wouldn't say bring this into a best of 3 tournament or an open team sheet tournament and expect to do well, especially if you're trying to get the Chi-Yu Absorb Ball gimmick. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to check out the battles, they're already on the channel. Let me know what you think about the team in the comments down below. Let me know how you did in the last global challenge. I think I squeezed out CP. Hopefully, we'll have to wait and see. But that's going to be all. I hope you enjoyed. If you made it this far in the video, I want to say thanks for watching. Also, thanks for waiting. Busy weekend getting ready for my son's birthday party. So was really busy this weekend, and it was also Mother's Day weekend, so I kind of stayed away from the video games. And my Razer camera crapped out on me, so I am dealing with Razer's customer support, and it's not the best, but it is what it is. So for now, you're gonna see videos like this in the old format until I can get the Razer camera hopefully replaced for free. But yeah, till next time, see everyone later.